Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, California Weather Watch. Today is March 12th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery here, and you can see I've overlaid the air mass characteristics again. It's the same as the last few days. As you can see, the green subtropical and tropical moisture here. This is that system you've been hearing a lot about north of the Hawaiian Islands here. This is going to direct the next atmospheric river into the state of California here, and the problem here is that we've had some persistent precipitation over the last day or so now across the region, and it's not really giving us a break here. And there's still places that are flooding. Levees have broken. The snowpack is much more saturated now, and it's not able to absorb a lot of that water as it was with the last atmospheric river. And there's a system moving through as we speak now, continuing some of this rainfall as we go. So we're not going to get much of a break at all before this next big storm impacts the state here. We'll go over those details here in a minute. And turn around, don't drown. Watch these road closures out there, folks. Just kind of have a heads up and pay attention out there. And this is what this channel is about. Be prepared, not scared. So taking a look at the last 24 hours, this doesn't include the atmospheric river. This is kind of just that persistent nature, that atmospheric column just continuing to bring precipitation across the state here. And on top of this, there were some strong thunderstorms moving across the region yesterday. That's going to be the case again here today. We'll take a look at that detail as well. And this is for the National Weather Service Bay Area. Flood watches all over the place out there. We've got high winds possible with very saturated soils. We could increase the tree fall activity and power outages with this next storm as well. We'll take a look at those details coming up. Potential rainfall in an already completely saturated state. The snowpack is also becoming saturated as well, so any precipitation falls up there is much more likely to contribute to downstream flooding as well. This is Sacramento National Weather Service talking about the potential for damaging winds here coming up with this next storm that rolls through. Gust is 65 miles per hour possible there all the way into Tuesday night. Taking a look here, today's thunderstorms, you can see there is the potential for a severe thunderstorm out here. Also, isolated tornado cannot be ruled out. Dangerous lightning as well. And of course, as you know, everything's saturated out here. And some of these individual storms can drop an inch of rainfall just in an hour, maybe even more, with a lot of small hail out there as well. Gusty winds, flooding concerns. Again, you can see the huge amounts coming in here. The valley 2 to 4, foothills 3 to 8, mountains 5 to 10. This goes on in through Wednesday coming up here. So watch out. It's going to be commonplace to have some pretty significant flooding across much of the state coming up here. This is the heavy snow. I mean, it's just becoming comical at this point. Some of these snowfall forecasts, 2 to 6 feet above 6,500 feet and up to 12 feet above 8,000 feet. So just intense amounts of snowfall, but it's going to be confined to mostly the higher terrain here. And it's going to be the dense wet variety. So we may not actually reach some of these totals, but regardless, another big round of snowfall incoming here. This is all the way down through Southern California here, talking about the hazardous sea potential. There's going to be some winds, gale force gusts out there, dangerous rip currents out there over the beaches and the headlands out there. So watch out for that. If you plan to be out in the water, be very careful. This is looking at the significant wave height, and you'll put this in motion, clearly see the next storm arriving here. You can see that significant wave height increase rapidly and slam into the central coast here, and it could extend down towards Southern California as well. So heads up for that. There will be a period of increased wave activity as you go through Monday night on into the day Tuesday, and probably then waning a bit here as you go on in through Wednesday night, but still some increased wave activity along the coastline as you can see there. This is looking at 100-meter wind speeds. Put this into the motion here, and you'll see this mid-latitude cyclone just come bearing down in the state. Clear as day, big winds coming for the coastal areas, some of the Central Valley as well, higher terrain, ridges, areas above 1,000 feet with some pretty extreme gusts coming up here. This is a very strong storm. This looks like something that will dive into Vancouver Island, not into Central California. As you can see, we are going on through Tuesday night here before that storm finally starts to move out in the frontal system, dropping down through Southern California by the time we get to Wednesday morning, at least according to this morning's European run. And this is hot off the presses, the 12Z run. This is looking at the NAM3 cam, also the 12Z run. This is accumulated max 10-meter wind gusts. So we put this into motion. You'll clearly see, again, that mid-latitude cyclone come rolling in as we go here. Here it comes on the coastline there. Big gust for the coast, and you can see even to the valley area, higher terrain as well. So pretty good model agreement here on this storm, bringing some very strong winds with it as well. Day one excessive rainfall outlook. This is just a system, the weak one moving through now. This is not the atmospheric river yet, or not the big one anyway that we've been talking about. But you can see the slight goes all the way from southern Oregon down into northern California here, including some of the valley areas there. Now we go to day two, and this is when this starts to impact places in northern California. Moderate risk out already for much of northern California here, and you see the slight and marginal extend downwards a bit. But now we go to day three, and we're already moderate here as well. Some of the coastal areas in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada again. And this could be upgraded also because things are just completely primed for an extreme flooding event here. And we're just kind of hoping that maybe rainfall rates don't translate as high as what the models are saying here, or the atmospheric river is a bit more progressive. You know, things can change last minute still, but we look like we could even potentially get another upgrade towards high here coming up. This is the day two. Actually, I wanted to go over the discussion a little bit here because they've been talking about it in the excessive rainfall outlook. They talk about the snowpack across much of California's mountains has been primed due to the atmospheric river, the previous atmospheric river. And so now that prime snowpack is already full, rivers again will result in impacts beginning much closer to the start of the heavy rain and only worsen with time. So yeah, it's pretty dire wording here in some of the forecast discussions here as well. And they talk about the high freezing levels potentially going up towards 9,000 feet for a period as well, with the heaviest rains moving in. Now taking a look here, this is a wider view of things. You can see Hawaii here, and you can see the California area here. There's Washington. This is the European on the left. The GFS is on the right. This is a precipitable water anomaly here. So the system is right back here over northern Hawaii on both models now. Put it into motion, pretty similar so far, but as with any model runs here, you start getting out in the future a little bit. You start get these differences here. And you notice the European model here, which tends to be a little bit more accurate, bringing more precipitable water. That's more water in the atmosphere a bit farther north here towards central and even northern California there. GFS a little bit weaker initially with the atmospheric river up into central California. But as we go on a little bit further, it kind of has a little bit of a stronger atmospheric river signature here for central and southern California as we go. So there are still some model disagreements coming up here. But I got to highlight here, folks, neither one of these is good news because this is a lot of moisture moving into an already completely saturated state. And there's going to be huge impacts from this storm here. There's just no way to get around it. And yeah, so we'll just continue to watch this and go over it. I'm going to do another live stream tonight. We'll do some Q&As and whatnot about this storm coming up here as well. This is the NAM3KM, total precipitation in inches. High resolution model. So you can see the ongoing precip. This is before the atmospheric river even gets here. And you can see some of these huge amounts, including some stronger thunderstorms. We'll look at those here in a minute. But you can see this precipitation just rolling around the state here, adding on to these totals that we just do not need. Then here comes the next system as we go on in through Monday night. You can see it off the coastline there and just slamming into the coastline. Just ridiculous. I don't even know how to word it at this point. Some of these totals are just outlandish here. I mean, you can see the high resolution models calling for up towards 27 inches here. I don't expect that kind of precipitation amounts, but it just shows you get half that amount for some areas, and you're going to have just extreme dynamic flooding going on across some areas. And like with any atmospheric river, things are going to change even right up until the point it makes landfall. For some areas are going to get targeted probably harder versus others. And we're not going to be able to detect those changes until the event is occurring or very shortly before the event starts to occur. Now looking at this updraft helicity here. So this is the NAM3KM also. Put that into play here, and you can see some of these strong thunderstorms roaming around some of the Central Valley again yesterday. Some of those were produced in funnel clouds yesterday, some small hail, and again, some just very brief torrential rainfall out there that can exacerbate flooding as well. And then this kind of moves into the foothills and spreads out a bit here, and you can get that thunderstorm. I think there was some thunder snow even going on across the area yesterday. So kind of a repeat of what was going on yesterday with some strong storms, even a tornado threat with some of these storms as we go on in through the afternoon today. This is the HER. This is the same thing, updraft helicity here, sorry. And you can see, again, it kind of shows a similar track of some of these strong thunderstorms as we go through the day today. This is looking at composite reflectivity, and you'll see some of these powerful storms showing up here as you go on into the afternoon hours here across some of the Central Valley. And again, it's going to translate into some thunderstorms and a lot of precipitation continuing to fall across the Sierra Nevada and the foothill areas out here as well. Now looking at this is lightning flash density. Just keep in the back of your mind that there's going to be some potentially dangerous lightning out there. And look at that. Yeah, you can see it kind of going into the foothills there. But there's a couple of particularly strong storms that might cross down across some of the Central Valley, generally southeast of the Bay Area. Looking at Supercell Composite Index, this shows you the parameters here, which show some potential for some strong storms there across the Central Valley areas as well. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a tornado report out there today, guys. So anyway, those are going to be isolated threats. The big threat coming up here, of course, is the next atmospheric river system that's going to be rolling in Monday night. But now looking at things here, is a European again and the GFS on the right. You can see the initial first system here moving into Oregon, but continuing the precipitation across a lot of central and northern California. And then as we go, you can clearly see this next storm bearing down on the coastline here, but the differences in the timing of the storm still exist, like I mentioned earlier. So we'll try to work this out a little bit tonight and see if the models come to more of an agreement here. But the European a little bit quicker with that storm, and you can see this tight pressure gradient also. And that's that big wind that the storm is going to cause. And it pretty much shows it on both models here, a pretty tight pressure gradient. So anyway, looking at total precipitation in inches now. You got the European on the left, you got the GFS on the right again. And here we go. So today, you notice the European is showing a bit more precipitation across some of the valley here as well. And then as we go on into the future a little bit more, here comes the atmospheric river now. You can see it a little bit quicker on the European there versus the GFS. And again, on saturated ground, this is just bad news. There's no other way to put it. And the GFS with bigger amounts across Southern California, higher terrain, you can see the noticeable differences there. So we'll see which model wins on this round, and we'll see if we can get some agreement on this before it actually occurs here over tonight and tomorrow when I do some videos there. Now, this is just to look out into Fantasyland to see what's coming down line. Here goes the initial system. There's the powerful storm that's a virtual lock to happen at this point, moving across the state. Get a bit of ridging here and a break. The system next one is decaying as it reaches maybe a little bit of precipitation, not the huge atmospheric rivers that we have been dealing with here. And then another system gets a bit closer here, but still not a big atmospheric river. That wouldn't be a huge deal there. And then look on the extended here. I just had to kind of point that one out. Look at what the European has in the extended there. And actually the GFS shows a strong system about the same time. And the European deterministic model has a system developing here around the same time as well. So we may remain active on in through later March. We'll see how this trends. You know, as we get this far out in the forecast, things are going to change. So here we're looking at total snowfall in inches, national blend of models here. And you can see going through today. On in tomorrow morning shown here. But the takeaway here is the higher terrain is going to get some decent snowfall amounts here as we go through this week. And we're going to add on to some of those roof loading issues across some of the buildings and the homes and the cabins out there. And just the incredible amounts of snowfall that's just swamped a lot of the area. Now, this is looking at Mammoth here, the cross section. We can see as this atmospheric river comes in on the European. This is last night's run, by the way, but you can see nice bump of warm air almost all the way up towards 10,000 feet. I just like kind of show this cross section here to give you a visual diagram of what's coming with some of that warm air there. And this is looking at avalanche danger, and you can see across some of the Sierra Nevada here, the avalanche danger is high right now. And if you click on that, get the forecast, really good descriptions in here. It talks about the potential for the avalanches. The danger is high at all areas here above, near, and below the tree line. You can see there's a forecast discussion. The avalanche problems, they show recent pictures of current, or slides that happened recently, I should say. And they talk about this one looked at had been a wet avalanche here. So kind of interesting stuff in here. A lot of good images, a lot of good data there from the Avalanche Center. And yeah, so anyway, I'll do a live stream tonight. So hopefully a lot of you guys can check in for that. It'll probably be somewhere towards 7 p.m. or whatnot. But here's that system out here. It's got its eyes set on California. It's coming. Do what you can to clear storm drains. You know, get your affairs in order right now. Have a go bag if you are in a low-lying area, or you know who you are. If you're in a flood-prone area, you need to be prepared for this system coming in here starting Monday night on in through the day Tuesday. So we'll go over this again tonight, and tomorrow morning we'll see how these models trend with this system coming up here, and we'll take a look at the extended as always to try to see if we're finally going to get a break across the state and allow things to dry out, or if we're going to remain active. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. I'll talk to you guys tonight, and I'll see you then.